It's week 5 of Erin Patterson's murder trial, and we heard for the first time Erin's record of interview. I'm joined by my colleague, veteran crime reporter Anthony Dowsley, to talk more about it. I'm Brooke Grebert-Craig, and this is The Mushroom Cook. Hi Dows, welcome back.
How are you, Brooke? It's the 5th week down and the 6th to come and could be the last.
Yes, so let's get straight into what happened in court this week. So we heard Erin Patterson's record of interview for the first time, and we also heard more about the search warrants that happened at her Leongatha home on August 5. Can you tell us about the search warrants first?
So this week we went into the heart of the police investigation. It's the week we had police officers in the witness box to talk about their visit to Erin Patterson's home in Leongatha on August the 5th. So we've got police officers searching the house a week after the fatal lunch on July 29. And an officer by the name of Luke Farrell spoke to Erin Patterson. I think it was in the kitchen. And there was another officer in the house, well, one of the many, and his name is Stephen Eppingstall. And he's what they call a police informant in this case. He's also had to give evidence this week. So it's really, we've been hearing from the police officers who are kind of the mainstays of the investigation. And what we heard is that they're executing a warrant. The search lasted for about 4 hours on a Saturday. And a key thing that came out of it was they said, we're here to investigate in connection with 2 deaths. And Erin asked who died. So at that point, she may not have known that Gail Patterson and Heather Wilkinson had succumbed to the toxins of death cap mushrooms the day before.
So what did the police officers find in the house?
Well, they found a manual for a dehydrator. They were looking for devices, so that eventually they will take Erin Patterson's phone from her that day. Erin Patterson made calls, including a 20-minute call by herself during that day where she was alone. I think the evidence was that she called a ballet school or organised some ballet lessons for her daughter. That she also called a lawyer, which is something you would do in those circumstances. And she's in the house while the police are searching for all of these items, and they would have taken these things away for examination, including the phone. And then she's taken to the Wonthaggi police station where she will have her record of interview.
Yes, so now let's talk about that. The record of interview happened later that day.
So this is when you're cautioned. So as a person that's going to be asked questions about a potential crime, you're given a caution by the police and you're made aware that anything you can say or do can be held against you in a court. And Erin Patterson says her full name, Erin Trudy Patterson, and they go into the conversation about the deaths of 2 people that the police feel at that point they can't really explain because they haven't been able to find any other death cap mushroom poisonings around Melbourne or Victoria. And they're looking to ask her, and they do during this interview, why these people are ill and she is not.
So what did Constable Eppingstall ask Erin about foraging?
So some of the key points of this record of interview with 2 police officers, one being the informant, Stephen Eppingstall, is that she is asked whether she had ever foraged. And her answer was never. She was also asked whether she had ever used or owned a dehydrator, and she said no. These were 2 of the pivotal points of the police interview, and as we know, both of those things the defence admit were a lie. So during this record of interview, Constable Eppingstall, a homicide detective and the informant in this case, says to Erin, obviously we've got concerns in relation to the mushrooms and where they have come from. Is that something you have done in the past, foraging for mushrooms?
Erin replies, never.
Ever?
She replies again, never.
Constable Eppingstall asks, do you know anything about a dehydrator in your house?
Erin replies no.
Do you own a dehydrator? He asks.
Erin replies no. I've got manuals of lots of stuff I've collected over the years. I just keep them all. Dows, let's move on. Constable Eppingstall also asked about her relationship with Don and Gail Patterson.
This was a point of the record of interview where Erin Patterson explained that she loved these people, that they were good, decent people who have never done anything wrong to me, would be a good summation of what she said. And they were really the only family that she had, was her point. And despite her declining relationship with Simon Patterson, she said this was something that she was maintaining. Constable Eppingstall asks, can you describe to me the relationship with your ex-partner Simon? I would like to understand why you had his parents and uncle and aunt over for lunch.
Erin replies, they've always been really good to me and they always said to me that they would support me with love and emotional support, even when Simon and I were separated. I really appreciated that. My parents are both gone. My grandparents are all gone. They're the only family that I've got, and they're the only grandparents that my children had. She goes on to say, I think Simon hated that I still had a relationship with his parents. I love them.
And on one last point that we'd like to look at, Constable Eppingstall goes to the hospital visit that Erin Patterson made. He asks her, what kind of treatment did you get?
Erin replies, so Dr. Webster had to leave. I think he was at the end of his shift and he passed on to another doctor and she said to me, the concern is that everybody's eating something that hurts your liver. We need to give you this protective medicine.
So what Stephen Eppingstall, the informant, was trying to get at in his record of interview was that he was trying to understand why Erin was not ill, and that's what he asked her about. And she basically replies, well, she's been helpful with the health department. She's never been in this situation before, and she's trying to help as much as she can.
So we're really deep into this trial, Dows, and it almost feels like it's never going to end.
Yes, I've got a slight apology to make to our listeners. I thought last week we were at the very pointy end. I thought we would have had closing addresses by the end of this week. It hasn't happened. The evidence from the police and some other witnesses has taken up the entire week, and we are looking at closings next week. So what we are looking forward to is whether the defence call any witnesses and basically the summation of this case in the closings. And then the jury will be given their charge, which is the judge telling them about the law. And then they're off to make a verdict. So we'll then be getting 12 jurors coming back to us whenever they make their decision. And they'll be sequestered away, which means that they'll be unable to go and do their own thing while they're deliberating. And then at some point, they'll be back.
Yes, they will, and I look forward to speaking to you again next Sunday.
See you then.